gonna take some extracts from this workshop, from today's new information, but to enjoy the process. Because the main objective of today's session, because it's 2 hours, it's not gonna change your life, but we hope that it's gonna help to bring you some questions and to enter in some mechanisms that would facilitate your learning process. Because ideally, this workshop goes to complete the more academic and formal part of this module. So that's why your participation is important, and we're happy to see your faces. But since, as you remember from last time, I very much care about time, your time in the first place, I think that we should start. And without much further ado, I would leave the floor to Professor Carletti, who's going to introduce the day. So thank you very much, Professor Carletti, and again, welcome to all of you.
Thank you very much, Deborah, and good morning again all. First of all, welcome to the second workshop of the Monnet module devoted to digital citizenship for the European Union that you for sure know has been co-chaired jointly with Professor Torino and Professor Germano, and following the launch of this relevant training path last March, and after a first experience some weeks ago for another space to debate over different complementary and interdisciplinary issues provided in this Monnet module in an interactive dialogue and manner. Today, as Debora has introduced to your attention, the workshop is prepared and managed by APICE, the association that is in charge for assisting and complementing us beyond our traditional training. You will have the opportunity to enter into contact with Alessia Sposini, that Debora has yet introduced to you, from the YouthIGF Italy, who will introduce you the workshop in terms of practical activities that you will be carried on in the next 2 hours. This will be focused, as you probably have seen by our presentation on the chat, delivering two key topics that you will go in detail in this lecture for today. The first is how internet works, and it is a very interesting topic to interacting with the platforms, with the internet governance at all, and what is in particular internet governance, something that also in my module we have already debated on, but you are now called on the stage to work on this issue. This said, I leave the floor to the organizers and in particular to the guests for launching the workshop. And so have a good workshop for today, for the entire classroom. Deborah, it's up to you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the very energizing and empowering introduction. I think it's very important. Again, it's Monday morning, so we know we are asking a lot from you, but you are very vital for this, for the positive outcome of this workshop. And similarly to what we did last time, it's my pleasure, to call you on stage, even if not directly directed, but by using the same tool that you used last time, which is the Mentimeter. So I would kindly ask you to go to www.menti.com and to insert this code, which is 13775125, and I'm asking my APICE team to copy paste it in the chat for you. So, you can copy paste. Again, you don't need to register to anything or to give out your email. You just need to open a different tab or even use a different device like your phone and go to the presentation. Well, when you join, I will kindly ask you to kind of press the art so I can kind of see how many people are joining the presentation, so I can make sure that all of you can participate. If you're experiencing any issue, though, please let us know in the chat, or even take the mic to share your difficulties, so we try to sort them out. Okay, so I can see that you're very fast. I can see Earth's coming, which is very good. I'm happy. And like we did last time, as a sort of an icebreaker kind of question, and to see, if Mentimeter is working fine, I'm asking to you, what's the worst thing about Monday mornings? So you can share it. It's anonymous, So don't be shy. Take this word cloud as your safe space to share your frustration, to be forced to be here at 9 a.m. in the morning. But please be grateful that you're sharing it with us and not doing worse things. I hope that we can make it worth it for you. Early lessons, yeah. Classes, waking up early, the alarm, tiredness, emails bombing. Oh yeah, that. To shave. Oh my God, many things. You're very fast to react to this question. I hope you're you're fast as fast when I'm asking other things too. Sunny day, the worst thing. Oh, that's a peculiar one. Camera on. So sorry about that, but we're using our power to force you. Starting to work. The alarm is getting bigger. I can see. Active participation. That hurts a little bit, I'm honest. But, I should have expected. You're anonymous and that I told you to be free. So my bad. But, it's life. But, said so, as the Professor Carletti very nicely said before, we are here to discuss many interesting things that, we wanted to dedicate a workshop about, because it's something that towards what we are kind of passive, or that we take somewhat for granted, or even in the fora, in the places where we are supposed to kind of analyze them, we don't do it very actively, okay? So that's why we are gonna base the workshop not only on some information and things that you can know about this topic, but knowing what do you know about it, okay? Starting from that. So going very basic, and somehow the easiest questions are the most difficult ones. So we want to know your definition of the internet, okay? So again, it's anonymous. So talk freely, and remember that there are no right or wrong answers. It's just your take, okay, on the question. So we have the future, a powerful connection tool, a tool to know things, a tool that widens the possibility to inform yourself and be part of society, a network, source of information. And I'm kindly ask you, also because it's Monday morning, I know I don't have the most agreeable voice. If there is some of you that would like also to share your thoughts or your opinions in reading some of these things, so also use the mic, okay? Metimeter is like the easy way to go, but this should be also the kind of input to give you the chance to share. So I'm asking, is there any of you who would like to take the mic to comment? No obligation. It's just, we are reading anyway. So, I mean, I'm reading while you take the courage. So you can have like 1 minute. Anybody?
Maybe if I can, good morning, everyone. So I just was reading what my colleagues and me were saying, that it's a powerful, internet can be a powerful tool to connect, but also to can be very complicated space, let's say. In this respect, I think that I found fitting that somebody wrote a double-edged sword, because it's basically that's what it is. It's very powerful, both in good and bad ways, as we learned also throughout the modules. So yeah, that's what I think struck me the most, and what I think summarizes really what internet is and what it can do.
I muted myself, sorry. So as I was saying, thank you very much, Caterina, also for showing yourself and taking the floor. And yeah, I very much agree with what you highlighted. And I really like the fact that for some people, it's more of a concept. I also read some things like a way, or people that say a network, and other people that say a space or a tool. So we have people that focus more on the material aspect of it, other on the concept. So, and that's why we wanted to ask this question, because it's one thing that it's there, but sometimes it's very hard to define in its kind of way. But it's something we're not gonna do now, because I like suspense, because I'm a fan of TV series. So before going into the explanation, I'm asking you another question. So who takes decisions concerning internet? Again, no right or wrong. It's your take on it. Again, that's the beautiful thing of anonymity. And it's one thing that we care about also on the internet. So who do you think takes decisions concerning the internet? Or if you know, it's even better. Maybe you know it or you studied already in your big companies. Okay. Programmers. Okay. Single nation states. Okay. Both big companies and governments, national authorities, national, international institutions, regulations. Similarly to what happened before, anybody would like to take the mic? I know this is a kind of a more challenging questions and you're scared to say something wrong, but again, not judgment here, it's a judgment-free space for these things, so don't be shy, don't worry. And I'm asking personally to the professor to not take into account for your final evaluation if you say something. I'm kidding, but there is one thing that now it's kind of appropriate companies. Appropriate is kind of a peculiar adjective. Can I ask who wrote it? Like, and what do you mean when you say appropriate? You can also write in the chat if you don't want to take the mic. Just on the use of appropriate, again, not, we are not here now going into detail of the things. So, who wrote appropriate? We cannot. I don't deserve to know who did it, but okay. Okay, I leave it there now. So I'm now stopping the screen sharing. Okay, so give me 1 second. And since, as I promised, actually I shouldn't have stopped the screen sharing already, but that I wanted to again explain, since it's very important that we are going together towards the things that we're trying to show to you. I'm going to introduce now the guest I kind of briefly introduced before, and I'm explaining you why sorry, I just see that I see the answering chat. I consider it appropriate that companies that have this power deal with that. So Daria, would you like to say that also with the mic? Sorry, I didn't see that before, because when I'm sharing screen. So if I get it right, you were saying that for you, appropriate is something that is connected with the idea of power. Am I right? You can again write in the chat if it's okay. I can see the chat. Okay. So I consider appropriate that the companies that have this power deal with it. So we're kind of talking about power. It's okay if you have a problem with the microphone, it's totally fine, but thank you anyway for explaining that to me. because again, appropriate sometimes is an adjective that, you know, can have different meaning. That's why I wanted to explore it a little bit, because once again, the reason why we're doing these questions is that we kind of need a common ground to see a little bit how these groups see the internet, who takes the decisions. So when we are now introducing our guests, the hope is that, you know, you kind of start from there and get the information, and you kind of put there in your frame of knowledge, okay? So for this reason, I'm now very, very happy to introduce you this speaker, which is Alessia Sposini. Alessia Sposini is a board member of YouthIGF Italy, which is the Youth Internet Governance Forum for Italy, so the country we are based in. She also is a junior fellow for Geopolitica.info. She writes articles, and as a representative of YouthIGF Italy, she also cooperates with the main IGF Italy program committee. So I'm very, very happy to leave the floor to her, because with Alessia, we are gonna go toward a little bit of the things that you kind of shared already with your answers. So how the internet works, no? What does internet a little bit mean? So I'm gonna now, for real, stopping my screen sharing. And I would leave the floor to Alessia. So Alessia, the floor is all yours. And welcome again.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Debora, for the perfect introduction. So now we have seen some questions about how does the internet work, but the main question is that how can I exercise my rights if I do not know the place in which I'm supposed to exercise them? So let's start by saying that this is not a history of the, not a lesson about the history of the internet. So there are, for that particular thing, many reliable sources than me, perhaps. So we will see how does the internet work, and why should I care? Why should I know how the physical part of the internet is built? So we have cleared that this is not a history of the internet presentation. Now we will see what this presentation is about. So this presentation is about defining the internet in, I think, 4 layers of explanation. This is an arbitrary choice, so it's a political vision of the functioning of the internet. This is not a technical vision. We won't see all the protocol DNS and all these issues that are more technical and different from a political science forum like this. So we will see the first layer. The first layer is about infrastructure, and by infrastructure I mean cables, undersea cables, satellites, exchange points, and data centers, and cloud infrastructure. So we have seen that this first layer is composed by cables, and with cables I mean the submarine cables. The first the first cable was laid around the 1844, so it's a little bit ancient, more ancient than the internet itself. And what can we say about cables? They make possible the transmission of data, so they effectively and physically permit our communication to be. And then we can see all these maps from telegeography, and we can see that we have not only the cables, but we have also these white and black dots. And what are they? They are called landing points. Landing points are the physical points on ground in which the cables are located. So the cables are connected to some other infrastructures. And we can see now in the next slide how these infrastructures are distributed. So we have the submarine cables that are fiber optic cables, telegraph cables, and then we have these landing points. So the ground points in which the connection is physically distributed on the ground. And then we have the exchange points. So these points, there are also physical infrastructure made by steel and all these physical things, and they permit to know how the power of this infrastructure is distributed.
So these are the first layers. The second layers in the infrastructure module can be the one of the data centers. So this is another map on how these data centers are distributed around the world. So there is no equal distribution. There are not, I think, certain information about the data centers. So a lot of Amazon and other providers' data centers are located in top secret locations. So we are not that sure that these are the correct numbers, even if they are updated. But how are composed these data centers are also called data processing centers and are the, I think, infrastructural hub of communication and network services. So they host servers, storage groups, uninterruptible power supplies, and so on. So we have all the data that we produce and which we try to regulate that are contained in physical infrastructure as well. But in the recent years, we have another switch. So the switch is from physical data centers and owned by companies. We have the switch in the cloud. So we have talked many times about the cloud. We have seen a lot of idealistic representation of the cloud. So the cloud is nothing but another data center. So all this data are still located in physical data centers, but the difference is that now the government or the single company doesn't own the data center, but it is a sort of service. So we can talk about infrastructure as a service, that it is a concept of the cloud. So these cloud are also called cloud regions, and we have the division in cloud on ramps that are nothing less than the exchange points that we have talked before. So here you can see how these cloud regions are distributed. It is not an equal distribution. Let's just see the difference between the Google Cloud data centers in Europe and in Africa. So you have a huge difference between all this distribution. And then we can observe another thing. So who owns the cloud? We now can talk about content providers. So in recent years, there has been a gradual shift of data storage from classic data centers to cloud service. But these latter are managed by the so-called cloud providers that are nothing less than Amazon or Oracle or Microsoft, that are these private companies that own another part of the that we will see now. So the second layer in which I have divided the internet is the one of the connectivity. And here we have the tier 1 providers and the internet protocols that are the mostly used is the IPv4, and now we are trying to make a change to the IPv6. So who are these tier 1 providers? They are these connectivity providers that have a global networks. So they don't need to acquire transit agreements from other providers, but they by themselves can decide who and how will connect to the internet. So not the physical part, maybe the more just another logical step up to a more to a less physical infrastructure. So they are currently 7 giants in the industry, but we have from 7 to 13 great companies that actually can decide how the internet flow is working. And then we have the third layer. The third layer, and now we will see again the content and service providers and the software owners or developers. So we have the platforms. The platforms are these owners of applications, tools, services, and software. So at this point, we can mention maybe the frightful 5. We have seen that GAFAM, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft has also invested very much in the cables infrastructure, in the data centers, in the cloud, but they also own the software part or the content part of the internet. And we will see maybe in the second part of this presentation why this is so important. So all these content providers are moving to acquiring, building internet cables and all these things. But how effectively all that amount of power is regulated? So we will see that in the fourth layer, that which could be the fourth logical layer of the internet, in your opinion. I'll leave you with a question. So we will answer to this question later. But for now, we need to think of how could be explained this fourth layer of the internet. Thank you very much.
So thank you very, very much, Alessia. And Alessia left us with a question, no? So that, we hope that you're trying already to feel by yourself. And I'm very grateful to Alessia because she focused on the part that somehow goes a little bit under detected when we talk about the internet, no? So the infrastructure part, the cable, how are the differences in the ways in which internet materially arrives in our homes. And that's why we asked that question before, because we somehow forgot that internet, even though it's a network, it's a tool, all the things that you said, is in any case based on very physical realities. Now we have cables, we have things that are made of metal, of plastic and other things, and we somehow remember these only when there are kind of burnings of data center or some physical accident happens to these things, but it's something that instead we should keep in mind also when it comes to who brings this infrastructure into place. So thank you very much, Alessia, again. But why we asked this question and why we want to know how the internet works. And Alessia said another very, very important thing, because how can we know our function, our role, if we don't know the place, where we need to understand our rights? And this is a little bit instead the topic of the next part, because as you know, I'm the person that is gonna bring you on the stage. So now I'm sharing again the screen and our Mentimeter presentation to go towards this part, because we went into the understanding, and again, it's very small sample that we're giving, because it's just, we don't have much time, but we hope that this brings you to, to discover a little bit what IPv4 means, IPv6, and, you also can see where the submarine cables actually go. There are open source websites where you can find all these things, but we want to go to another point, and I always have problem in switching the slide on my Mentimeter, which is to understand what's your role instead in this environment. I know this image is quite small, and that's why I'm sending it to you also via chat. But I'm giving you a couple of minutes to read it. You can see it on your device. That's why I put it on the Mentimeter. So if you go on the presentation on Mentimeter, you should be able to see it. But I'm sending to you the image so you can see it. But in the meantime, you have the chance to. So I'll give you, like, we have 36. I'm giving you like 1 minute to see it. Should be this one. Yes. Okay, so I send it also through the chat, so you can open it bigger if you're using a computer. So take your time, read the different layers. And now I'm about, okay, so you can see it, I'm happy. Thank you, Professor Torino, for giving me the feedback. So at 38, I'm getting away slide. Time pressure, sorry. Okay. Again, it's not like one one stage or one part is better than the other. It's just to understand ourselves and to be able to put ourselves in some kind of box, even though I know it sounds bad, especially for my field of work, but it's just to understand sometimes where we are starting from, where we are at. And it's 38. So I'm going. I can see only 3 people are seeing from the Mentimeter, so I assume that the rest are okay. It's just the arts that are 4. Okay, sorry. Because I assume that all of you were able to see it, because now I'm asking you to, sorry again for the slide thing, to share it with the rest of the group. Again, it's anonymous. Now that you've seen this different kind of definition, how would you put yourself? So again, we have creators, conversationalists, critics, collectors, joiners, and spectators. Okay, so we have all these definition. So we are having a real-time kind of feedback on, we are around 20 people, no? To see very roughly the percentage and, the amount of people that are in the different boxes, to understand what kind of internet users we are. So we can see, without even reading the number, that's why I love Mentimeter, that we have this column of spectators that is rising higher and higher. And it's really going up. We have 10 spectators, 3 joiners, 3 conversationalists, and 3 creators. According, again, we are using, I also need to clarify this. We are using this point of reference, so the ladder I showed you before. It's not like there is kind of a universal kind of classification. We are using this tool to find ourselves, but it's not the only available one. It's just, it's kind of a starting point to understand again where we are at and what kind of users we are, to, first of all, not to answer to my questions, but to ask ourselves these kind of questions and to understand. I think we have more or less all voted. And again, it's very, very much clear that the majority of at least this group put themselves in the spectators part. And why did we want to show you this? And on what this kind of ladder is based? And why do we have Alessia here and we're talking about these things? Is because it's precisely because it serves us to understand the level in which we are to be really participating in the spaces we inhabit, no? And internet is one of these spaces. And if we reflect in terms of participation to the online world, we can kind of see this a little bit better. And we are basing this kind of definition of participation on a model that was made by Roger Hart, and it's called the ladder of participation, and that was born for a particular kind of participation. In fact, you can find this ladder from a report made by UNESCO from 1992, so it's quite old now. I think it's older than most of you, and it's called the Innocenti report. And why we are using this? Because it was made to reason about the participation of children and young people, no, in society. But actually, it can be applied to any other group that we have. We are using, because of course you are young people, but again, we can see it applied to other groups in society. You can think about women, you can think about migrants and refugees, minorities, people from other background. And why are we doing this? is again to understand that as a ladder, it's something that can even be improved with time, okay? And it's something that is very much bound also to our decisions and way in which we act in the places we inhabit. We use it with young people, and that's why, again, we have Alessia as a representative of YouthIGF, because young people and youth in particular, again, it's not just because you are young people, but it's a very, very good group to take into account because it's a group that is intersectional by default. What does it mean? That, you know, within itself, since it's kind of a phase in the life of people, all the people of all the groups at some point are young people, okay? So it's very, very good to see how the exercise of right and participation can take place. Also because very often happens that while we grow up, we go out of this group kind of automatically, no? So we somehow reach the other level of the ladder when we are outside our group of interest. So it's a very kind of, let's say, peculiar case study when it comes to participation. But again, why we're talking about participation? Because for us, it's very important when it comes to decision-making processes, no? It's something that we're going to see more into detail with Alessia later. But why do we need to care about decision-making processes? Because participation, and again, we are going very fast and we're giving some inputs on this. We think that, you know, when you are well informed, that you know what is going on, when your decision have the space to take place, you have the chance to influence your reality, to see the effect of what is happening. And for us, it's very important because especially now we're in a moment in which we see on many occasions, at least an on-paper participation of many, many parts of the society. But we need to be able to understand at what level we are, okay? Because sometimes being present in a place where decisions are taken doesn't really mean to participate to the making of those decisions. And that's why there are these first levels that are marked in red, okay? Because it means that people are present in a place just because they are functional, no, to other kind of things that have been decided somewhere else. Before there was the mention of power, and this is precisely what this is about. Because if I'm a young person, I'm a young woman, and I'm a present in a fora, the fact that I'm there is not sufficient to say that, you know, the decisions that are taken there are also respectful of me as a person of the group of I represent. So we think that by improving the knowledge of the mechanisms of how internet works, how decisions are making, we can go up to this ladder and be able to exercise our rights better and better. So this is why we wanted to do a little bit this kind of view on the issues of participation. But we're switching, not really switching, is very much related because participation is a right. So to see what's your understanding of the kind of application of human rights in the online and offline world, okay? So it's a very kind of direct question. Do you think human rights are equally applied online and offline? Yes, no, can't tell. We have one can tell. Most of you is saying no. So considering also what was said before and the fact of how you see yourself in the online space, is there anybody, is there anybody who would like to comment on this? Again, no obligation, but you can either write in the chat or take the mic. So who wants to share now that you know you are people living in the online space, no? So you're humans. Do you have such rights? Do you think that your human rights are applied equally online and offline? Since there is a very huge majority that says no, I don't see even one yes. I'm now asking you, why are you answering like that? I'm also stopping the screen sharing to see you. Again, not right or wrong, it's your perception, no? Again, you are people, you're living the internet, you have rights. Do you think they are equally applied? Most of you said no. So let's see a little bit why this is happening.
Can I bring my opinion?
Of course.
I have ticket no, but maybe in a different way, as you can think. I think that human rights are better defended online than offline. This is my view. In my view, the violation of human rights are more frequent offline, when people cannot say what is happening, than online, when you are exposed to a global evaluation and a global monitoring by a lot of people and authorities and so on. This is my view.
Thank you. It's also a very, very good example of how, you know, a generic question depends very much on your interpretation of it, no? Because Professor Torino take was to say, for me it's not, but I'm not putting them in the kind of expected kind of scale in which, you know, online world is worse than the offline one. But, you know, my perspective is for this. And, you know, from the question, in fact, there is no saying in which cases they are better or worse protected. It's just saying if they are equally protected. So, but again, most of you said no. So anybody else who adds the Professor Torino kind of perception?
Can I say something?
Of course, please, Veronica.
Thank you. I agree with the opinion of Professor Torino. I personally said no. I answered no, but I think that there are many countries where the access on the internet is not free. So I think that also online human rights are not totally defended. I also think that in our Western world, we are not totally free to express our opinion online, maybe for social construction. It's that.
Thank you very much, Veronica. And I will take this also as a chance to make you maybe a little bit reflecting on the fact that human rights are very and many, you know, and they are personal freedoms, and, you know, and they cover many, many aspects, of course. And the fact that sometimes when we think about the online world, we think only about certain specific rights, okay, that are connected, I don't know, to privacy, safety, security, you know. Last time together we saw hate speech, no? What is happening with hate speech. And one very common, in my opinion, the good way of seeing that is hate speech as a violation also of some rights, because prevent people to participate to online space meaningfully, no? Is excluding people. But sometimes, again, going back to what we were saying at the beginning, we forget that, you know, internet is in the end a space. And as such, as a space that we inhabit, we should think also more largely about different rights that are related to us as human people, as beings and as citizens, no? And I can see Sophia that raised her hand. So please, Sophia.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to add something because I share too a sort of perception of vulnerability when I'm online, rather than when I am you know, on the ground in my real life, no? And that's because I don't have, I feel I don't have the same guarantees and possibilities, but also knowledge to defend myself, no? And because if something happens to me, I don't know how to counteract. And for example, if my social profile is stolen, nothing can be done. No, for example, there is this thing I asked for. I don't know, Facebook and Instagrams is so difficult to solve this kind of issues, for example. So apply to the general. I think there is not the same protection. There's not at all this equality we are talking about. Also because the world of the internet goes much faster than that of the institutions that make the laws, and so there is often no coverage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Thank you also very much for being so honest in speaking about this perception of fragility that you perceive when you are online. That is very much true, because, you know, we took some time also to say how the internet is big, it covers all the world, and sometimes it seems something so much bigger than us people, real beings, and that we feel powerless, no? You made the example of sometimes, you know, when we think about taking down a fake profile, it seems that everything we're doing is useless. So even if now, for instance, we have GDPR things, we have some things like the right to be forgotten that is more taking place. In the reality of us, common users, we don't see these things happen. So we feel frustrated, and we actually not seen as beings. We just see part of something bigger. Which of course, and I kind of borrow one of the expression that you use. So it's a double-edged sword, no? Because on one hand, you know, it makes us feel powerless and say, okay, we don't matter. But this feeling actually, on the other end, makes us feeling like everything can happen. So that's why it explains why online certain behaviors take place more freely, no? With the perception that, you know, you are somehow free, more free than you are in real life. And these are all considerations that I'm really happy that are coming up. Also when it comes to knowledge, because again, there is no common knowledge. It's not in common practice, the knowledge of how these things work. Okay, how should I kind of find a way to exercise my rights if I don't know what's happening, if I don't know how these things work, if I don't know if truly for instance, I'm Italian, no? If something happens with somebody that's another place, is what's happening to me? Or if it's happening on Facebook, which is American, what's happening? What can I do? No? And this is exactly why we need to reflect on our rights and who we are, and to understand that one very important step to improve our access to knowledge, our information, is to be able to participate, no? And to know more. But apart from what are our strategies, and again, with Alessia in a second, we're seeing actually, you know, to bring you some hope, some of the things that are happening and that kind of can help us. I'm first of all sharing with you a very nice document that now sounds also already a little bit outdated because it's from 2014, but was made by Council of Europe, especially to talk about human rights online and to have our focus as internet users. So it's 30 pages. We're not going to see it now, but I wanted to leave it to you as a resource for future reference. And before you go more into detail with your courses into these things. But apart from the theory and the discussion, we want to use this space, since we have a little bit of time, to see, now that we saw that our participation is a little bit passive, we feel sometimes powerless and we don't really know what's going on. You as young people, if you would be given a stage where to share your opinions, what actions would you recommend? Which strategies would you put in place to kind of enhance the level of your participation in the online world? And this is coming to my favorite part, which is the working group. So to give you the freedom and the chance to speak more without my voice being there, or panelists or professor being there, we are, like we did last time, we are sharing you in smaller groups. So I'm now very quickly counting you I mean, I'm not doing it, Zoom is doing it for me, let's be clear, but I just need to see how many professors we have, because I thought about having 5 small groups, so you have the time to all of you to speak. So here we go. So I'm creating 6 different rooms, because in one group I will put all the professors. So I'm asking professor, don't do it like last time. When it tells you the screen entering the room, don't go there, okay? Just don't click anything, okay? So you don't go into the isolated room like you're in some sort of punishment, because it's true that you're excluded from this activity, but you're not excluded from discussion. So we don't want to make you feeling alone in the smaller room. So I'm dividing you. So I'm taking like 30 seconds to do these things. While I'm doing this, I'm also explaining the rule, and I'm asking Gusten, the intern of Apice, if she can copy paste the links to, we have 5 different Jamboards, and it's going to be 1 for each group. So you can see group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. Okay. So according to the group you're in, you should take and open the right link. Okay. While I am divided the professor from the other people. Okay. And professor and panelists. So bear with me. I need some technical time. Okay. Okay. I think I did it. So 1, 2, 3. Ah, no, I did one mistake. I'm just double checking. So we have 1 room of 3 people, 3, and we have only 1 group of 2, I think. Oh no, we have 1 of 4, so I can move 1 to the group of 3 of 2 people. Okay, so we should have more or less rooms with 3 people. So you have 15 minutes in total to to answer this small question. Again, you're not asked to come up with an action plan or a strategy for government or platform or whatever. It's just some inputs, some practical actions and strategies that you as citizen would like to see happening to improve the level of your participation to what is happening in the digital world. Okay. So before I divided you into the room, since you're perfectly on time, and I'm very, very happy about it, is it clear? Any questions about how it's working? Is it clear what you need to do? So working group, find strategy, use the Jamboard to write down so you don't miss any of your discussion. Then you come back here, and similarly to last time, I also wrote it on Jamboard so you don't have chance to miss it, even if you don't understand it now. Find 1 person per group who is gonna share your results with us, okay? Clear? If it's clear, give me a thumbs up, even with a reaction on Zoom or physical thumbs up, I'm happy. Okay, I can see some. Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming everything is fine. So working groups are opening officially now. So now it's 10, like in 15 minutes, I'm gonna call you back. Okay. So enjoy, and professor, don't enter the rooms. Okay. So here we go. Oh, but we have some people that got disconnected. Just a second. We lost connection of 2 people. So we have, okay, she's back. Sorry, because if I divided them before they come back, I will have people with no. So let me just see. Because we lost Beatrice, sorry, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm having trouble, some problems with the connection. So all of a sudden it disappeared, everything. So I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Okay. Like it's okay. You're just saying that, you know, I'm putting you in room 4 with Daria. So I'm just opening the room now so I can do this. So technical issues can happen. So
Thank you.
room are opening, and of course, room 1, it's group 1 for the Jamboard, room 2, group 2 on Jamboard. So you get the drill, okay? So enjoy.
Sorry, but I was out of the meeting all of a sudden too.
I'm putting you in the room now. Just give me a second. So I'm putting you in room 4. So I just need the kind of the time to. That's the annoying thing about, even though I love them, it's a little bit annoying when it comes to these things. I just stopping the screen sharing so it's a little bit easier for me. Okay. So because I kind of cannot, here we go. So I'm putting you in room 4. Here we go. So now we have 3 people in all the things. So Beatrice and Alexandra, please, you should see a box saying enter the room. So go there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, because everybody else is in the rooms. Okay, so Alexandra also is going. Only Claudia's not going to. Oh, no, Claudia, sorry. Claudia, because you don't have the surname. That's what was confused me, sorry. So we all. And
Mariotti. Mariotti.
Alexandra, she should go to room 4. So Alexandra, you should put in the, click on the box. If you can see it. That you should see a box telling you to go to the room, because I cannot kind of push you in the room, so you need to do it. Alexandra, can you hear me? Because I don't see you. So to make sure that you're able to follow.
We can suppose yes.
Yeah, but the problem is that if she doesn't show, she cannot join the group. So it's like she's not kind of. I'm
texting her privately to see if any technical problem is.
So just.
Because you are too much democratic. I would pick up an application that can allow me to push people in the room by force.
No, it doesn't work, unfortunately. Oh, no, she went. Okay, good. And sorry, Claudia, with the fact that I see only the list of people. So I said, okay, there's one Claudia. Because in the rush of doing everything, and I hope.
But I have an invitation to stanza 6.
Yeah, don't take it.
Okay.
Don't take it. As I said.
Not now. Okay.
Luca, Debora told you 100 times not to go into the room. And what are you doing? You are trying to go in.
I have some problem with my speakers, so I don't know.
No, it's okay. I created an extra room because when I share it, if either I should put all of you as co-organizer, or so it automatically doesn't include you into the counting, but sometimes it doesn't work. So since time is running, I add this extra room so I can open the box of participants and I can move people around. So that's why I have to do it quite fastly, and it's easier to do it than explaining to you. But that's why I just said don't go into the room. So it was easier for me. And the fact that Gusten shared all the links to the Jamboard, they're always in the chat. So sorry, in the chat. Because if you send a message to the participants before they go into the breakout rooms, they always see it. So that's why it's good to share anything before they go. because if we want to share other things, then we should enter in every single room. But now I can quickly go and check the chamber to see if they're writing. So if it's working, I'll give them another 2 minutes, then I'm go checking. And then we have the debriefing, and in the debriefing, the professor can take your, you can comment if you want, you can make questions. So we are giving you some more freedom. I know you are kind of retaining yourself from talking. I can see your faces and you're eager to talk. I can tell.
I don't know, how do you say frusta in inglese? Frustare.
It's yeah.
Whip, to whip. I think that sometimes our students shall be whipped.
Yeah,
Very
this
democratic.
is kind of complicated. And it's kind of complicated for us as activists to be accepted, This kind of being democratic, equal, inclusive. So it's in our religion, sorry.
No, it's very ma siamo tutti italiani qua, no? Quindi possiamo parlare italiano.
No, there's gluten.
Ah, there is gluten. Oh, sorry. It's very it's very interesting the ladder with the involvement and the relationship between adult and young people. But from your point of view, our students, they consider themselves young or adults?
That's something we could ask them. Also because the perception of the adulthood or the youthhood is very diverse in the different settings. And sometimes we also abuse of the word young beyond, the anagraphic or the moment of our life in which we live, because we all want to be
Alessandra,
young,
your audio is very bad.
Sorry. I was saying that that sometimes we abuse also the word because we all want to feel forever young, but this has also consequences in terms of, because we consider the youthhood like a moment of life in which we don't have so much responsibilities, but this also, brings many problems of not giving credibility to young people or, enough empowerment. But then we want young people to be empowered and feel responsible, and so there's this double situation that also the adult put on the young people and vice versa. So how do you see this?
Yeah, also because adulthood is kind of seen as a kind of objective to reach in terms of maturity and things like that, while sometimes it's very useful to switch more than the anagraphical thing, which very often happens, like to the fulfillment somehow of your role as a citizen. So when you realize that you're part of the society and you're kind of in the full blossom of who you are as a person. So that's why very often youth work is kind of defined and as work that helps young people fulfill kind of their objective and who they want to be. And also because it explains very much why it's culturally related. If you see the definition of young people for youth policies all over the world, for some countries it's until 25, others like until 35. So it changes a lot. And but it's, as Alessandra said, it's very peculiar in the discussion.
This is very true, that it's also a cultural distinction. Now I disclosed to you one of my last passion, that is Korean drama, and I just finished yesterday to watch one of the most famous and I think very good Korean drama that is called My Mister, Il mio signore, My Mister. IUC in Korean. I start also to speak a little bit Korean because you can only watch with subtitles, not in Korean. And part of this drama is based on the distinction between adultness and youthness, and it's very, very nice to see how Korean culture and they consider this. I suggest you this drama. You can watch it on Rakuten. It's for free. Rakuten Wiki, with just some spot advertisement inside, and it's quite touching drama. They consoled me. Interesting. So
I have a sister, she's 11 years old, and she's all into Korean pop. So she started also drama, so I'm very much on the drill. Everything is Korean in my house, and you know, everything is Korean related. So it's, but it's true, from Korea there is kind of a renaissance in some sense of the culture and things getting more popular, and the production. I mean, from when it comes to movies, they've always been a great tradition, and now with Parasite winning the Oscar, it's been more recognized.
Yeah.
But also in the pop culture is getting ahead and is more kind of mainstream now. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I believe that how do we identify in terms of being young or adult? It's also connected with how paternalistic is our society or community of reference, because sometimes the youthhood is connected in the general mainstream understanding with the lack of experience or the lack of matureness. So sometimes saying I consider myself young, it could bring also kind of discrimination, but this is not something that it should happen, because, for example, when we have a panel, that's something that we discuss with some experts, that sometimes when we have a panel with adults and young experts, the young experts suffer the fact of being young in confronting the adult experts, because there's a sort of prejudice towards the young, that they should be less experienced or less contributing to the conversation. But many times it's just the fact of having less space or less consideration. And it's very similar to the other rest of discrimination that we see with other target groups. So
yeah,
this is my
I agree. I agree with you. What I would like to say is that for me, it's always a question of how many time you spend in studying something, and the fact that we can see as a professor, we can see very easily because if you are 50 years old and there is a young professor of 30 years old, you had at least 20 years to study more than the younger professor. But this is not true that you have studied more. Maybe you have spent your time just playing golf and not studying that topic. So from my initial point of view is that the older professor maybe have studied more than the younger, but it's not true. It has to be checked and verified time by time from my point of view. But if the older professor is a good professor, he had 20 years more to write, to study, to read than the younger professor. That is a fact, is not a question of that you can evaluate discretionary. But maybe, as you told, maybe this older professor have just watched the drama, Korean drama, for the last 20 years. I don't know.
That's true. Just saying, by the way, before you go on, we have 50 seconds left for the room, but I'm opening them now because they have like 2 extra minutes or 1:30, I always forget. But just to say that, you know, this way we are right on time, and they're writing a lot of the Jamboards. So I'm very, very happy. So I'm closing the rooms, and they have actually I'm sending them a message. Rooms are about to close. Get ready What? Okay, so here I go. Okay, so they have 2 minutes extra. But sometimes they push, like Professor Germano, when they see the things they want to push and they go back into the main room. So sometimes it happens that they go out before. But you know, it's okay. At least they got the notice. And just now we are gonna go to the briefing. So they share it like last time and we see.
I got to take a glass of water. So
oh yeah.
If you do not see anymore,
we know what's going on.
No, I come back to the classroom.
It's okay. Oh, we have a raised hand, Beatrice.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was in group number 4 and we had many connection problems. I don't know if we lost Alexandra during the and Daria's microphone wasn't working, so I was almost alone, and we didn't have the Jamboard link as well. Because we lost the explanation part, so we tried to gather some ideas.
There is the getting help button. I thought you'd see it. Sorry, it's my bad.
I didn't know because I don't know the Zoom platform because we use Teams usually, so I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's my mistake. Don't worry, Beatrice, don't feel bad. I didn't say about the help button, but just to reassure you, because we are going to have the discussion regardless, so you can still comment and make questions from the other groups. And again, it's my mistake. I should have told, because we met the other workshop and assumed that all of you were there, so I didn't repeat about the help button. So it's my mistake. So you don't have to say sorry. Actually, I need to apologize for that. So sorry about that, but you can still participate in the discussion. Don't worry. And I'm sorry you felt bad about it. Nothing happens. It's fine. It's not something that is graded or anything. The important thing is that you can participate. So don't worry. And actually, again, I'm sorry you're feeling bad about it. So just breathe and it's okay. The important thing is that, you can also see what the others were doing. So welcome back. I know that some of you experienced tech issues, but I assume that, I saw Jamboard getting populated. So actually, I need to apologize because I didn't come and check into the room. So sorry if somebody missed anything. But, I hope that you enjoy, in any case, this small activity. If you didn't, you could relax for 10 minutes. It's fine. But now, in any case, is the time to share what you did. For this reason, we have anyway the time to ask questions and to see what is going on and what are your ideas. So even if you weren't able to contribute on the Jamboard or the working group, still you have time to ask questions and to give your inputs, okay? I just want to be very, very clear on that. Also because, similarly to what we did last time, now we are starting the sharing. So as you were seeing in Jamboard, each group should have one representative that should present the group results. And while you do that, if you go to Mentimeter, there is a slide open where you can write your questions to the group, okay? So if there is something that you are missing or you don't want to take the mic, you can still write in the Mentimeter, and we know if you have any questions or comment to make to your fellow presenters and fellow participants, okay? Again, we're perfectly on time. I'm very happy and I'm very grateful to you for that. So this is the time to share. So I don't know, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, who wants to start?
I can start because I was in the group number 1, so maybe it could be nice.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanna, if you would share the.
Yeah, I can share the Jamboard.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyway, we focused actually on one point, so education, and no, okay, this one. we actually, in the group, it was composed by Valeria and me. And we so focus, yes, on education as a strategy to improve participation, but also as an enabling factor. So it was all about it. We thought about insert digital education as a subject in schools since the first years. Because we talk about natives of digital, so maybe it's something that we must insert since the beginning of our school path. And we wanted also to involve all the population, so also those that are not natives, so the others, and to create tools like podcast or other easy, accessible, clear, and brief, like pills, no, informative material, and also offer free events, online or not, held by experts that could be created by associations or just public ones, to different targets of the population. So like divide the elders, divide the under 30, I don't know, such, we had such idea in order to also to be more efficient, and to let them know how internet works, and which are the various dangers, and how to act, and so to face this new world, let's say. And so and also improve involve internet user, providing user guidelines that actually we have them already, as you already shared in the chat, but they are not so common. So maybe to let yes, to improve this point. And yes, enabling factors, education. We stayed on this focus on this point, and then yes, possible obstacles that yes, that this not an easy task, but also that people could not want to lose so much time, because they see internet as a quick tool now to make things faster. So they could have this this approach of don't want to spend hours reading or learning, just use the tool without actually using it in a proper and safe way. This could be an obstacle. So yes, that was all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophia, and also for following the guide that I said, because to make try to make your things easier, because I know it wasn't easy. 15 minutes, I also asked you to think about enabling factors and obstacles. So thank you also for clarifying the distinction of those. And that, you know, I'm already looking at Alessia, because some of the things they mentioned, I know she's gonna cover somehow and give you some hope about that. So I'm happy to see how things connect. But before passing to the next group, I'm just checking if on the Mentimeter some questions are coming. So remember, if you have questions for fellow participants or something that comes up to your mind, you can also use the Mentimeter. But said so, I'm curious to see what other groups wants to go next. Floor is yours, so go on.
I can go if it's okay.
Go on. Sarah, which group are you in? So I can share the Jamboard.
We were group 5.
Okay.
So it was not an easy task, in my opinion, to discuss strategies and actions to improve digital participation. But with my group, which was composed by Rodica and Sofia Lipari, we discussed from the general issue of having access to the internet, because that was one of the main problems, or one of the main problems in the day of age. in this day of age. So we thought about improving the general access to the internet, which is strictly connected to ensuring also that everyone has the proper instruments to be part of the digital world. And we found that to be one of the issues. So that was one of the factors that could enable people to be part of the digital world. So giving everyone the proper instruments, also given the pandemic that we are facing today. And then we moved on to maybe to the issue of education as the other group. And we talked about maybe obtaining some feedbacks and giving people the space to express their opinions and concerns in order to understand how to improve digital participation, and also maybe raising awareness through initiatives organized by internet providers, and also to understand and make people understand what are their possibilities when it comes to the digital platform. And then the last thing we focused on was maybe using the voice that influencers have to push and encourage people to be more active rather than passive in the digital society, because I think that majority of the people that are part of the digital world are people that are on the younger side. I'm not saying that maybe older people don't use the internet, but I think that using people, using influencers who are more close to the people who are active in the digital world can improve and enable digital participation. So these are the points that we focused on with our group.
Thank you very much, Sarah, also to be very on time. So I really appreciate that. And it's nice to see how some things are recurring. So thank you very much. And like I did before, I'm just checking if on Mentimeter are coming any questions or inputs that people want to share after hearing your results. But anyway, you still have time. But I'm gonna go quickly to the other group. So whoever wants to go forward, please do.
Should I?
Yeah, of course.
So good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of group 3. So it was me, Alessia, and Veronica. So we focused as well on a few recurring themes that so far have been mentioned. So first of all, education, since we believe that since starting this module, we have learned so much that it is actually very strange that we did not know yet. So first of all, including like education, as also Sophia mentioned, in the public school, so in the what is considered to be the basic education needed to create digital citizens, and so to make us aware both as right holders and as to give us awareness on the rights of our actions and the consequences of our actions as well. And this goes to complete the point at the bottom that we put, so create communities to involve. So not just the creation, but also maybe being more aware of what are our rights makes us more protected, feel us more protected. And also, if we do intend to cause harm through, for instance, hate speech, we know what the consequences are. So creating communities, but also improving communities, making them more safe spaces. Then we felt like a big enabler was also the more protective regulations. We said many times that internet is, the digital world is evolving very fast. So it is impossible that a regulation is really updated to the moment, but still creating regulations that are more protective. We see some proposals that are possibly coming in the next years that seem to be a great starting point for that. So that we thought is a big important step, but also the monitoring part. So being able to know that institutions are actually monitoring well, that the complaint mechanisms are working well and are being actually checked regularly. So, and in this respect, we thought that a huge obstacle are private sectors. So the private sector willingness to actually come to terms with the rights of the users, to make them more aware of the rights they have. So how much private sector is willing to do that, and how much the institutions actually collaborate with the private sector to make this possible. I mean, I'll just close saying that, of course, we think that communication and education is at the basis of all of that, because we need to know that we have rights and that anonymity is not just a great tool because it's not just a good characteristic because people don't know who we are, but actually we do have rights and consequences for our actions whenever we write something or post something or on the internet.
Thank you very, very much, Caterina. Thank you again. And I'm checking the Mentimeter. I see that we have 2 considerations. So do you believe that states need to ensure access? Or a lot of ideas, but who should perform these initiatives? Public authorities, private companies? Shall such initiatives and related costs imposed by law on private companies? For this one, I put on hold because I know that with Alessia's presentation, we're gonna go a little bit toward there to give a possible answer to this question. Maybe not the, the only one, but one of the best, at least in my personal opinion. Just one thing, maybe before going to the last group, there should be group number 2, if I'm right, because group number 4 had technical issues, but if they want to contribute with questions or things, they're welcome, of course. So who wants to reply on this? Do you believe that states need to ensure access, or must, if we want to put it in that way? Does anybody want to comment on that?
Also, we are allowed to comment or just students?
If you do it in 30 seconds, I can allow you. So yeah, you can.
Wait.
Go. You can.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to understand what does it mean access to internet, the simple access to be connected, so the right to be connected.
If I may, because I posed a question, and it was actually referred to Sarah's presentation of the group, since she said that access must be guaranteed also in these particular situations, such as the pandemic. So to ensure access to the internet, that was the specific meaning.
If I can give my opinion, also all of us, we know that there is a theory, an opinion that the right to access to internet can be considered as a fundamental right. There is a sort of this opinion. Of course, this depends on the fact that nowadays we consider our life so strictly connected and intertwined with online life that we see this as a fundamental right. Of course, also this idea, this opinion, result in a peculiar and a specific starting point of view. That is our Western point of view, because if you go in some part of other continents, I think that they will consider other to be a fundamental rights, like to drink clear water, to have enough food, and so on. And for me, this trigger my reflection on the fact that fundamental rights are most of the time relative rights. Depends on the situation where you live and where you stay. So to answer shortly to your question, do you believe that states need to ensure access? From a theoretical point of view, yes, but before to have access to internet, there are more fundamental rights for me that shall be put on first position. security from war, security from illness, security for having enough food, clean water, and so on. Equal treatment of men and women, and other fundamental rights. So, of course, this is related, in my opinion, in my view, with respect to internet, that for me it's mainly a tool and not my life. Full stop.
Just, I want really to comment on what Professor Torino said, but I think that Sarah, since the question comes from the discussion of her group, so Sarah,
yes,
if you want to say anything.
So I completely agree with what Professor Torino said, and I wanted to specify when it comes to the right to ensure access to the internet, I do consider, and this I think personally, but I don't know if my opinion is the same as others, but I think that giving the right to accessing the internet is a communal right and a communal effort that comes from both the private sector, so the internet provider in itself, but also from the state. So I think, again, it's a communal effort, and I do believe that states should ensure access from a theoretical point of view, because practically it comes to the internet providers, but also to the person in itself, I think. And I was gonna say another point, I cannot remember it, I'm sorry. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't remember it as of now, but I do think that states should ensure access to the internet, especially given the pandemic that we are facing. I think given the emergency state we are in, I think there should be more participation from the state's part. But again, at the end of the day, I think it's a communal effort that comes from both the provider and the state, and also the person who wants to access the internet. If I answered.
Yes, thank you. And just to say a short thing, I believe that states need to ensure it when it's actually an emergency situation, as Sarah said. And to connect with Professor Torino, when it's up to the right of having and receiving education, I believe that then, as it is a fundamental right, then internet needs to be ensured.
Just, okay, I don't want to cut this conversation, but that's because it's gonna be a perfect opening before I present Alessia, because I'm gonna do a comment and share you another thing. But before we go there, I really want to hear the results from group number 2. So we close this sharing and we go towards the last but not least part of our workshop. So please, group number 2, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, my group, I think we thought about the digital worlds in terms of social media. We consider actions and strategies to improve the digital participation. We thought about surveys and in general bringing up sensitive issues to the general public to somehow encourage people to participate. And before bringing those sensitive issues, we thought about free training courses to acquire some kind of knowledge, and most of all to know how to move in the digital world, and to learn how to discuss with people, which is a very important point according to us. And we had a common point with the previous group, making the user aware of his or her rights and the data protection he can enjoy in the digital world. And when think about enabling factors or possible obstacles, we thought about the personal time that we dedicate to the digital world, or for example, to learn, to attend courses, or to respond to different comments when it comes to participation online. And another obstacle, we thought about discouraging and disrespectful people online, because, for example, we thought about Facebook comments or Instagram comments when we want to participate in the social media world, sometimes we are not encouraged, or we are just discouraged indeed, because of some people expressing their opinion in how can I say, too strong manner. So this is why we were thinking about learning how to discuss in the digital world. And I think that those are our considerations.
Thank you very much, Sophia. So I'm just checking. There are no questions. And now I'm going a little bit fast because we are 6 minutes over time, but you did great, all of you. I'm very proud. I'm very grateful. I know it wasn't easy, but again, the main aim of this workshop is that, this is the starting point for you to ask yourself certain questions. So when you go into the module, you will find for these answers you need. Okay, so your learning process hopefully would benefit from this kind of reflection. But before leaving the floor to our Alessia, that I know actually, I'm very proud to say that, I know for a fact that she can answer some of the needs that you kind of expressed when sharing strategies and actions with some very practical things. I just want to take 30 seconds, actually 1 minute, to talk about the notions of human rights. That is very important to remember that they're all interconnected and interrelated. So very often the enjoyment and the fulfillment of some rights depends very much of, the fulfillment of others. And when it comes in a global world, the fact that many communities, many countries still don't have some basic human rights granted is a very, very big issue that we should address. And first of all, those people should be made aware of the fact that some of their rights are denied. And this can only happen when they have the right to access some information, which somehow, unfortunately, can happen only on the internet. So sometimes enabling internet access together with all other rights can actually help in the run for the fulfillment of all the other rights, because sometimes even human rights education, so being educated and being made aware about human rights, is a human rights in itself. Because if we are not aware of the human rights we are entitled to, we cannot even fight to ask for them, or get to the point in which we are granted their fulfillment and we can demand for them. So sometimes that's when it comes to the right to the access of the internet, that it's very much related to the right to access meaningful information, and and the fact that in some countries it's connected too much to private sectors. There is issues of net neutrality and many things we don't have the time to cover, but just want to take the time, since it emerged a lot and we don't have the time to address that as well. But issues of media and information literacy as kind of a particular form of education. So I'm asking Guten, actually she's sharing some basic definition of media and information literacy, just to say that we are not even talking about media literacy only, but we talk about media and information literacy. And if I can give like the personal definition I like the most, is that when we think about media and information literacy, we should think about what enables us to act rather than be acted upon. And this is very important because, if we talk about participation, we should be enabled to act as we wish to, as we are aware. We should be able to give our consent to things in an informed and fully aware way, instead of being acted upon, because we are passive and we don't even know what is going on. And this is gonna open again to Alessia, which I know she has to cut a little bit shorter her presentation, but I think that in 10 minutes she will manage. So she's, I'm stopping my sharing screen. So Alessia is actually showing us some of the ways in which we can reach the actions, we can do the actions that you suggested, and I'm very happy that you came up with those among some. So Alessia, I'm finally muting myself. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Deborah, and thank you all for all the fantastic inputs. So we have talked about the internet access, and Debora has also explained why this internet access needs to be meaningful. So it doesn't have to be biased by other operators or other actors. So we will start by asking ourselves, who owns the internet? Hopefully no one, and this is the only answer that I will give you today. But why we need to focus on who is actually owning the internet? Because owning the technology, or at least regulating it, or prioritizing some topics, at least we have just seen how the Professor Torino has said. So for me, the internet access, yes, it's a fundamental right, but there are more arguments that are in a scale of priorities that are higher than the internet access. So this is an example on how we are biasing, how we are sort of redefining the priority scale of arguments. So we will see what can we do about the how we can manage the internet. So the fourth layer of the internet is the internet governance. The internet governance is led by all these institutions, and we will see why multi-stakeholder institutions, by international organizations, forums, and also, and not least, states. So we have a lot of actors in these fora that are competing for a space. We will see two of the major multi-stakeholder institutions that are the ICANN and the IGF. So the ICANN is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, and practically, and in very few words, it is the company or the corporation that assigns the domain names. So when you search for a website on the World Wide Web, you always find the .com, .eu. So this association, this corporation is giving at least priority to the websites, and they are naming effectively them. So you understand that this is a very important role in the internet. Then we have the United Nations Internet Governance Forum, and this is a sort of space that is regulated with some core principles that tries to allow to every stakeholder, so to everyone that has an interest in the internet, to speak up and to direct the policymaking in this arena. So we have seen that internet governance is the design and application of shared principles, standards, or procedures that guide the evolution and use of the internet. But how does it work? So we can see a very funny picture of how the internet governance works. So we have a lot of sectors, a lot of issues, a lot of competence, different competence. So we have the cybersecurity level, we have the economic level, we have all these topics are carried out by some different actors. That can be the United Nations, the European Council, or we have also the national states. So we have the national sovereignty that comes in sort of contrast with other parts of the internet society. But how this process, because internet governance is not only an institution, but is a process, and how this process looks like. So we have some guiding principles, as I said before. We have the one of openness. So this is an open forum, and that by open, I mean that everyone, literally everyone, can participate. So me, you, in all, in representation of various stakeholders. So we have the inclusiveness. What does it mean? At least it means that I don't have to buy a ticket to participate to this forum. This is a very maybe little thing, or I don't know, not that important to many, but it is very effective in terms of participation. Then we have the third principle, that is the one of the multi-stakeholderism. So that we will see in a few minutes, because a little more maybe complex than the others. So we have the transparency principle. So in order to be accessible, in order to be accountable, all these processes need to be transparent. So there are some public consultations, and it is all public. You can find it all on the internet as well. And then for the fifth principle, we have the bottom-up process. So the internet governance, it is not a top-down model of participation. You don't have an executive board that is guiding the rules of the internet governance, but we have online or offline consultations. So we have public consultations among the topics, and then we raise that topics from the bottom to the upper scale decision makers. So this is a brief image of the internet ecosystem, because when we talk about internet governance, it is, and I will repeat that very much times, it is not an institution, but it is a process, and that is maybe an ecosystem on the internet scale. So we are talking about, again, the multi-stakeholder approach. And the multi-stakeholder approach, this is an organizational framework or structure. And this structure adopts the multi-stakeholder process of governance or policy making, and tries to bring together all the parts of society and all the actors that really have an interest in moving the internet. So the ultimate goal is the decision making and implementation of solution on to common problems or goals that we have in the internet. So we have also said that stakeholders are all the parts or anyone with a legitimate interest in a particular internet governance issue. So it can be education, it can be internet access, or any other issue. But which stakeholders are classified by the International IGF? We have at least 4 sectors. So we have divided all the internet governance actors in 4 categories. We have the governments, so that are at least the one that will implement the policy making process. And we have the civil society and NGOs, so every internet user, alone or in an association. Then we have the technical and academic sector. So the internet, as you can see, is not only led by the technical operators or the ones that are building the internet by themselves, but they need a lot of figures in order to function. Then we have the private sector, so the big companies, I have talked about the GAFAM, but any other private sector that has an interest in internet. So the IGF is a neutral space, it's a sort of laboratory, as we have just made a laboratory with Debora. This is also a very effective medium of the IGF process. So we want to stimulate an informed discussion. So it's not only education. I prefer to call that discussion, informed discussion, because in the education we have always the perception that there is a teacher and there is a student, but that it is an informed discussion. So how does it work, this process? It is an year-long process that terminates with an annual meeting. So we have every year, we have a different country that hosts a meeting. And it's very, very funny to go, and it's very informative, very involving. Then at the end of this annual meeting that lasts about a week, we have the draft of some messages. These messages are the guiding lines for that year issues, because we will see that in every year we have some topics that are prioritized in the annual meeting. And then we have the national regional initiatives, and this is the more practical part. So how can I participate to this process? I can physically go to the annual meeting, or in this case virtually. This year it will be in Poland in December. But I can also participate by staying in my own country and by finding some other initiatives. So we can see that in this year we have over 135 NRIs, so national regional initiatives that are recognized by the United Nations. So the IGF is a United Nations agency that is led by the UN DESA. But we have also different layers and different levels in these initiatives. So we have the national one that we can have in every nation, and you can see the distribution on the map. So if you can see, it is very funny. I find it very curious how in the African country and the Latin America, we have a very high participation of individuals. So the internet access as a fundamental right is a very debated issue also in African countries and in the Latin America. So maybe the Latin American Brazil is very, very peculiar as an example, because they are the first innovators in this sense. So they are, and you can see the work of Luca Belli, that is a professor that participates in the Internet Governance Forum, and he talks a lot about the community networks. So how can we build internet by ourselves? But sorry for the interruption. So we will see that in every country, or at least a lot of countries, we have the national initiatives. In Italy, we have the Internet Governance Forum Italia. So then we have some regional initiatives. And in Europe, we have the European Dialogues on Internet Governance. And we not only we have national and regional initiatives, but we have also youth initiatives that can be national and regional. So we have the YouthIGF, that is the Youth European Dialogue on Internet Governance, that is that has a fellowship for who is interested. Every summer there is a fellowship, and we will see together how to participate. So even at the national level, we have the YouthIGF Italy in the case of Italy. So you can join our discussion forum and bring your issues and bring all your topics, and we will bring them to the regional and to the global level. So this was, I was trying to be on time, and how can you raise awareness? How can you participate in the not only ownership of the internet by joining your national initiative, or if there isn't any, by creating your own one. It is very simple. We have a toolkit on the Internet Governance Forum site, so it's very accessible. And for any other information, you can find my email here. You can contact me every time you want, and we can see if in your country there is an initiative and how can you participate, or how, and if you want to participate to the European level, to the national level, or to the global level. So thank you very much. I hope I told
Thank you, Alessia. It's 11. Really quickly, Alessia, if you can put the link to also YouthIGF Italy, just remember that, you know, we have these things to show you that all the things that you proposed, having webinars, initiatives, opening up spaces, is something that Internet Governance Fora do. So join them, and all the things that you see are happening in form of webinar, of meeting or training. But I really want to leave the floor to the Professor Germano, if he wants to close the the event and inviting you to the next unit of the module. Thank you very much, and sorry again, we know you have lessons. So Professor Germano, very quick to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Debora, and thank you to the Apice team and of course Claudio Di Maio for the excellent organization, and a special thanks to Alessia Sposini and YouthIGF team for this stimulating presentation and for participation to this workshop that according to the debate it seems to me that the debate that has followed feels like it has been interesting to the student and very interesting to the student, interesting the student very much. Well, the work done today, however, is preparatory to the arguments that Professor Claudia Mariotti and I, especially Professor Claudia Mariotti, will deal with the module of our course, which will start next Wednesday. The module will address the issues of digital online participation, and of course all details on the content will be given in class. But here I just want to remind students that we will return to the theme of digital democracy, already introduced in the kickoff lecture by Professor Luigi Ceccarini. And we will therefore shift the focus to the digital platforms, and especially digital platform for citizen participation, by analyzing some specific cases like DICIT in Madrid, DICIT in Barcelona, and the European Commission. And finally, we will deal with themes of interaction between digital platforms and political gatekeepers, and also digital lobbying. I'll stop here. Thank you again to everyone, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. And, thank you to Professor Luca Germano and Professor Claudia Mariotti to prepare this very interesting unit. And we hope that this workshop, again, is going to be useful for that. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your lessons, and stay in touch, get active,